And just so you know, a lot of that's lighting in that video with the way I look. And it was a guy who shot it and produced it, so I was a little uncomfortable. He was like, can you stand against the wall and we just want to get your body. And then I didn't know he like zoomed in on every piece of my body. I'll have to text him after this. But anyway, it's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me. And I actually started off as an intern at NBC Sports with 3 other guys back in the early 90s and was a runner at Wimbledon and also a PA before I got back into swimming again. So I had a lot of great memories at NBC. Well, back in 2000, as you guys saw on there, and I won 5 medals there. And I remember walking out of the arena after getting my last medal, and I was crying, as you guys saw, and didn't finish my drug testing. And I'm walking out and just want to go enjoy Sydney. And a reporter stops me and says, Ms. Torres, can we ask you a question? I'm like, sure, no problem. And turn on the camera, stick the microphone in my face. And he said, I just want to ask you one thing. I was just wondering, are you going to do this again in 8 years at 41? And I turned around and looked at him and I said, that's the stupidest question I ever heard. And I walked off, and here I am again. So I think I need to find that guy and apologize to him. But anyway, it's funny. When you finish swimming, there's 2 kinds of swimmers. There's the type that doesn't want to get near the water, hates the water. When you're done, that's it. You move on with your life. And there's the other type where you probably exercise a little bit, maybe swim a little bit masters, and sort of enjoy it in a different way than you did growing up. And I was the first one. When I retired, I wanted nothing to do with the water. So the second retirement after 2000, I wanted nothing to do with the water. I wouldn't get near it. And I got pregnant with my daughter, Tessa, and I love working out, as you guys saw on there. Although I'm not that psycho when I'm retired, when I'm not swimming, but I love to exercise. And so I got pregnant with my daughter, and I don't know, about 6-7 weeks along, I had gone to a trainer to see what I can and can't do while pregnant, and went to my doctor and asked him what my parameters are. And I hopped on a Stairmaster and started working out, and I'm feeling pretty good, and all of a sudden I start to feel nauseous, and I'm like, okay, now am I just sick, or is this like a pregnancy thing? And next thing you know, I'm over the side of the Stairmaster throwing up, and I had a few stares from some people in the gym, and I thought, you know what, I think I need to find a different form of exercise, because if this lasts at least for 3 months, this isn't going to be a good thing. So it took a little while, but a light bulb finally went off in my head, and I thought, wow, I can swim. There's a gutter. I can just get sick in the gutter. No one's going to notice, So what the heck? So I decided I was going to swim. And my partner, who lived in the area, I just moved there recently, and I said, is there any pool around here? We live in South Florida in Coral Springs, and he's like, yeah, there's a great Olympic-sized pool. Now I look at him, I don't know how much he knows about swimming, and your first thought in your head is when you go to a hotel that says Olympic-sized pool and it's like 20 yards long, and so I wasn't really expecting to find an Olympic-sized pool, but he gives me directions, and I go to this sports complex in Coral Springs, and I walk in, and sure enough, there's this beautiful 50-meter pool and a 25-yard pool and a diving well and a kid's pool. I'm like, wow, this is great. And I walk into the office, and there's an elderly woman in there, and I said, excuse me, I'd like to find out about your swim programs. Now, mind you, I was about 6-7 weeks along, so I wasn't showing at all. And she said, well, what are you looking for? And I said, I'm not really sure yet. I said, I don't know, maybe swimming with kids. And I got this ridiculous look. I'm like, or masters. I can swim with masters. And I'd never swum with masters before, and I definitely fit the age for it, but I'd never swum with them before, so I threw that in there also. And she's like, well, have you ever swum before? And I'm like, yes. And she says, well, have you ever been to any swim meets? And I'm like, yes. And she says, tell you what, why don't you look at these brochures over here, and you can see maybe what you want to do, and we can take it from there. So I start looking at the brochures. I'm like, I really don't know what I want to do. She said, well, tell you what, here's a piece of paper. Why don't you write down if you've been in some swim meets, what you've done. I can give it to the coach, and he can decide if, what program you're in. And I'm like, okay, so 4 Olympic Games, 9 Olympic medals, World Championships, Pan American Games. And then I started to feel bad, and I thought, well, maybe I better fold this so I don't make her feel bad. And then she goes, well, now make sure you put your name and number down there. I was like, oh, I'll do that. And I did that, and I folded it up and handed it to her. And about 2 hours later, the coach calls and starts laughing. He said, why don't you just tell her who you were? And I said, I don't want to ever assume that people know who I am. And so he said, why don't you come by and we can discuss what you want to do? I said, great. So I go to the pool and we start talking, and he just really did not want me swimming with the kids and the teenagers, and I don't think he really, I didn't know I was going to be eventually training for Olympic Games, and he just thought it would be best that I swim with the masters, and I said, that's fine. And so I started my first workout and felt pretty good and continued to work out, and then some of these middle-aged men start racing against me. And let me tell you, when you think being competitive will die as you get older, it doesn't happen. It stays with you. So I start doing these sets, and I remember my coach said, now don't get your heart rate up. If you can't breathe, your child can't breathe. And I was like, okay, but these guys over here are racing me, and they're looking to see where I am. They touch the wall and see if I'm there, and I just can't help it. I start racing them, and I got this they see the 6-month belly, but they don't seem to care. And my coach finally stops me. He's like, Dara, what are you doing? I said, I can't help it. These guys, they keep racing me. And he goes, tell you what, why don't you just go 30 seconds behind and you'll be fine? I said, fine. So I wait till they go. I wait 30 seconds.